Isaac Films presents an audio reading of Doctor Who, The Long Story Begins, written and read by Isaac Travers. My name is Theta Sigma, but many call me the Doctor. I've been stuck on my home planet, on Gallifrey, for many years with rules that I can never agree with, on which they were just plain horrible. I was an enemy to my own race for not joining in with the rest of the other Time Lords. I was rather being seen as an outcast. I was taken away from my family and joined the academy when I was about 8. And that's when I looked into the untempered schism. I saw what would become of me, what would lead me to the future. I was then put into the Prydonian Academy. That was when I met my mentor, Barusa. His beard was as grey as the dark stormy clouds, and I was taught all things about science, maths, and a lot of history. Barusa guided me through my studies. However, I was always losing marks because of my behavior with other teachers and students. I did my best, but they never seemed to see it properly. One student who I was friends with was a man called Zeta Eta, who is better known as the Master, because the other students would think that he would be the master of the universe. He had so much in common with me, as he wanted to leave Gallifrey just like me. He saw me as a brother, and helped me when I was struggling. At one point, he stood up for me when I was hurt in a fight, and he told the bullies to leave me alone in peace. Then, one day when we were on our normal walks as per usual, something changed about him. He told me he wanted to rule planets and all who ever crossed them would obey him. I was shocked, and I told him that I was against it. And it was just downright wrong. No matter how hard I tried to reason with him, he wouldn't change his mind. He was like a stubborn child all about it. In the end, I had to let him go as a friend, and asked him to never speak to me again until he had changed his ways. I never felt the same way after losing my oldest friend. Many years went past, and I lived in an old homestead back when I was a child, before I went to the academy. Even many people around me thought I was just a nobody, and the other Time Lords thought I was a complete waste of time. The only person who really cared for me was my granddaughter Susan. She was cheeky like any ordinary teenager, but had knowledge greater than any normal schoolgirl of her age. One day, when I was off visiting Arcadia, which is not far from my homestead, I witnessed the council foreseeing a prophecy about me. They spoke about me being a reincarnation of a Time Lord known as the Other. This Time Lord was considered one of the founding fathers of Gallifrey with Omega and Rassilon, and they were scared of his power, that he was too greater than anyone could ever imagine. I knew this couldn't be me. I couldn't even convince the council about all of this. I ran back home after the meeting and told Susan that we had to leave home. But I couldn't tell her why we had to leave. I knew if we stayed around longer, I would have been killed. The only way to get out of Gallifrey is by stealing a Type 40 capsule, which was hidden in the repair shops. So I made my way immediately. However, I was stopped. A certain person I knew, who I just referred to as the woman, told me if I left, they would hunt me down. And I told her, "You should come with me." She politely refused, and so I said my goodbye, and then went into the ship. When Susan and I first entered the console room, the wall had roundels that looked like wheels on a car. The console had buttons and switches that came off from an old-fashioned computer, and a rotor that had enough power was held with lots of gadgetry in the right place. I needed a name for the ship to make it easier for me to remember. Susan came up with the word TARDIS from its initials, time and relative dimension, in space. I pulled a lever on the console, and it made a sound like house keys dragging over a string of an old piano. I didn't know how to fly the ship at first, as Susan and I started to move from side to side as the TARDIS was spinning in the vortex. It felt like a storm fighting with fire. The TARDIS landed in an old junkyard in the year of 1963. The ship was disguised as an old blue police telephone box to blend in with its surroundings. The junkyard was messy like an untidy child's room. This was the beginning of my new life. I was about to take my first steps into a much larger world, with many challenges and companions. I would rejuvenate many times, protect the innocent, and save planets from evil. You may know me better as the Doctor.